Hello, welcome to your fairy tale wedding show. I am your host, Claudia Chan. So, you have said yes to the love of your life, and now it's time to say yes to the dress. And today, here with us is Jennifer Dang, who is the owner of Ferre Sposa. And this shop have a very special spot in my heart because this is where I got my very own wedding dress. So, I am super excited to have Jennifer with me today. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Claudia. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to be speaking with you. So,
Likewise.
all right. Would you mind telling our viewers a little bit about yourself and how you got into wedding dress business?
So the quick end of it is that this was a family business. It started just under 20 years ago. Yeah.
Oh,
So my parents were in the business and I had worked in the industry for now 17 years. It sounds like a crazy number. But since I could
well, you don't look
work,
it, so.
yeah, since I could work, that was where I was. And working in the bridal shops was something I grew up doing, even throughout university. And even when I had my full-time job, I had been very involved in the bridal industry. And how I particularly got in it, I actually didn't think that I would get into the wedding dress business. That was always something that my parents did, and
They were
I would
also
always
doing
help out.
the Western bridal wedding
What?
dresses.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yeah. It was still very similar concept, just a different clientele.
okay.
And when I would help out, I just knew that that was their business. That was something they did, and it was great for me to learn. And as I graduated university, I had a full-time job in sales and marketing, and I would help out. Actually, my brother at the time had his own. He was a wedding dress designer. He was in Toronto's Fashion Week, and I would help them out. I would help them out with PR and client relations. And all the while doing that, I would work with their retailers and help them build up ideas so we can help them build their business. And it was like a light bulb moment. I realized how much it ignites like my heart and how excited I was for these retailers who were either new or had their business for a long time. And I had just so many different ideas for them on how they can run their business. And so I just thought to myself, I was 24 at the time, and I said to myself, I feel like this might be something I could really enjoy. And for years, I didn't want to just do the business because it was my parents' business. I really felt like I needed to love what I do. And I felt that spark. And it's kind of a funny thing because the same way that brides shop for their wedding dress, I had this magic and feeling around the business. And so that's how it all started. I came into Ferre Sposa about 8 years ago now. And I now have two shops, Ferre Sposa, and then we also have Elisabeth and Beau in Uptown Toronto as well. So that's how everything came to be. And yeah, I'm really excited for how far we've come along.
Yeah, you guys came really far to have two shops. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Ferry Sposa and what makes you guys stand out from the other bridal shops?
So when I came into the business 8 years ago, one of the biggest things that I knew I had to do differently was how we present ourselves as a bridal store. There's a lot of traditional ways of running a store, and it was all about finding the dress that looks good on a certain body type and selling the bride on the gown. And there's something about that that made me feel very disconnected from the business. And as I've been doing this for so long, I needed something that was more speaks to the heart than it was to what I felt like material and external values. And so what we want to do is, not be just about the wedding dress. I know people come to our shop to find the wedding dress, but I hope they actually come and discover more. And our hope is that they understand who they truly are and start to understand and discover their like true authentic beauty. It's all about who they are. So whether or not a dress suits a particular body, it doesn't matter. What we want to do is suit a particular personality. And that takes a little bit more patience and time, but we've really coached our team in doing that. We have great fashion, we understand that, and that is kind of a bare minimum. We know that that's something that we have to have, and it's our foundation. But beyond that, and what I feel like we really do differently is our team provides that experience where they help brides navigate their own thoughts, understanding who they are, what they want, and how they want to present that, and all the while making it an uplifting and fun experience.
That's so awesome because like when I actually went to your wedding store to buy my dress, I don't think you have implemented that yet because it's
Mm.
very recent. So for brides who are coming to your store to do that, can you elaborate a little bit more of how you actually walk them through this process to discover themselves and match them to a dress or the dress to match a dress to them?
Yeah. So, at first when I was thinking about how I would answer this question, it was like I have this like full training program for our sales team to understand how they could do that, but I didn't want to talk about that whole training program. And so I want to actually use a movie production analogy.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that is because, when you're coming to shop for your wedding dress, some people bring friends and stuff, and even the wedding day itself becomes like a show. Like they are presenting in a show. And so I think about when a bride comes into the store, or even when they call us, we first think about what the concept is about. This is like the foundation. What do brides want? When they come in, when is the wedding? What are they looking for? What's on their Pinterest? All like the standard stuff that a bridal consultant should know is what I call the concept. So that's where we understand, what are they coming in understanding? And a lot of the times it's like they'll show us pictures on their Pinterest, like they want an A-line or ball gown. They want something that shows off their back. They have a particular venue that maybe is like, a restaurant that's a small boutique spot in Toronto. And this just gives us the overall concept of their wedding. It doesn't really tell us too much about them specifically yet. It's a very much an understanding of the whole picture. Then the next portion is what I call her story. And so her story is not just what the questions we ask, it's the experience throughout the whole process. And what our team does really well is understanding what's her story, what is it that's a quirk about her, what's her personal style, what's her personality like, and really understanding that. And that is something that our team does really well in extracting from our brides. It takes a lot of patience. It really takes a lot of empathy, and for our brides to connect, or for our consultants to connect with our brides in a way that's super genuine. And so this is not a simple feat. It really takes a certain consultant to be able to build that trust with brides. And that's something that we try to bring in a particular team to do. And we coach them on asking the right questions. And we're never telling a bride that you should get this or try this. It's always a asking question of, how do you feel about this? What are your thoughts on this? And it gets the brides to really think about and make the decisions themselves. One of the things that is very challenging throughout the experience for some brides is that they're very confronted with these questions, because you don't often think about these things and what it means for you. You just kind of go on to the day to day and make your decisions. And then when you're coming to buy your dress, some of the things that start to pop up is like, what do I actually want? Who am I in this whole situation? How do I want to present myself on my wedding day? And it's just, you'd be surprised that so many of our brides don't really know how to answer that question, because what they see is in magazines, what they see is what friends tell them. And everybody in all the media, the society's expectations come into that. And we want to strip all of that and get brides to really understand, okay, it doesn't matter what people say. Let's try to figure out what you want. And so through an hour appointment, we hope to get that information. And I'm telling you, our girls do such a great job in trying to understand the story of our brides. Then the next portion is then what I call backstage. So think about like the backstage of any show. This is like the bride space. And how we create this is, if you remember in the change rooms, we have quite large change rooms that are private. They have curtains in them, and we do that very purposely. We don't want like even her guests, we don't want people in her space, because we want her to feel safe in that space and time for her own thoughts. And so we spend that time in her change room. Majority of the time we're in the change room helping them get dressed. These dresses are very bulky and hard to get in and out, so we don't want them to worry about that. That's why we're in the change rooms. But more so, we then create space for her to think, because too often they're you bring these friends and you're concerned about how am I going to entertain my mother-in-law and my sister here, or whatever it is, and they get caught up in all that, and we don't want them to get caught up in that. So it's quite a balancing act for us to really get that. We know that they have guests to please, but we want them to understand and take this time for themselves, so that I call that change room time, like her backstage, and really understand, okay, how do I want to present myself? What are my thoughts? What do I need to remember about what I like about this, and not get too swayed by external opinions, like whoever is there as her guest. Whether she has one guest or 5 guests, I think it's still the same. So that's the backstage. Then the fourth portion is that we narrate. We help her narrate her story. What does her story look and sound like? And everyone's got a beginning, middle to end to the story, but oftentimes we don't know how to tell the story. What our consultants do as we open up the curtains is help her navigate her story and share it. And so if she knows that she likes something about the top of the skirt, she may not know how to articulate it, but she's already expressed it to us. We then help her explain that to our friends. So it's very short and concise, and they get it. There's not a like, what do you think? Really, in our opinion, our humble opinion, it doesn't matter too much what guests think. They're there just to support. What matters is what she thinks. Yeah. And so we help to balance that, because we understand that there's a dynamic there between the bride and her guests. And so we help to give her the opportunity to get her guests involved, but also make sure that she is able to express herself to her friends and family.
That is such a important thing, because like when it comes to wedding, it's with the planning and everything, it's not just the 2 people. It's always about the family and how they present themselves. And so when it comes to the wedding dress, it's so important that the brides actually narrow it down to say, hey, this is something that represents me. And it's not something that, oh, I have to please my parents or his parents or anyone else's guest. And I think this is so important. But it's also the fact that you're taking time out to letting the brides explore who they are, because sometimes we just don't really know who we are. And even though we like something that we see in the wedding magazines, as much as like we don't really want to look at our body types, it's still very much so that you still need that to fit that kind of dress onto that certain body type in order to make it look really good on you, right? Because like for myself, when I went to your store, like, you didn't have this storytelling thing implemented when I came to your store, but my friend who came with me at that time, she knew me as who I was, and the dress that we picked, like she was the one who picked it off the rack, and it was the first dress that she picked it off the rack. And even though I tried so many dresses, that was the last dress I tried on. And without even trying it on, when your consultant took that dress off the hanger, I was like, my gosh, this is the dress. Like, you have to know what the wedding venue is. You have to know who you are. And it's just that feeling like, yes, this is me, and this is how I want to present it to the world. And that's so super important to the brides.
Yeah, it's not about what like just looks good. It's got to feel good, and you got to feel confident in it and excited about it. So it's not, I tell people all the time, this is not like shopping for a t-shirt. This is every gown is beautiful, but you got to find something that suits you.
Yeah, for sure. It's really great that you have been training your consultants to do all this, and like it's so exciting for brides to be able to get that experience. Now, when exactly do you recommend brides to actually come to you to shop for a wedding dress? Because I know it takes a lot of time for people to go look for wedding dresses, but when's actually the best time to look for one?
So generally speaking, I recommend 10 to 12 months as a great time to start. This basically aligns with when you're choosing your venue. We usually come in and around the same time. So venue and wedding dress is what I would recommend. Now, that's to say that we have some designers in store that could take up to 6 to 9 months to order. Not this is like maybe a select few, and then majority of designers are going to be between 4 to 6 months, and then you want to give yourself 2 to 3 months for alterations. With all of that said, you want to give yourself the most amount of options and also leeway for time, so you're not rushed to do things. I would say 10 to 12 months is the best. Of course, many brides do come in shorter periods of time, and we can work with most time frames and have options for each. But if you want to have maximum number of options, 10 to 12 months is the best.
Sure, because you definitely need to make sure that the dress get in the store on time with the ordering, and then you get yourself fitted. And it also took me like two fittings in order to get everything right. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
So leading to our next question, because you mentioned about bringing the party
Yes,
to go in
yes.
for the wedding. So what's your tips to bringing that bridal party? Because on Say Yes to the Dress, you see all these girls hanging around, and it's like more opinions there are, the more confusion there will be.
Totally. My philosophy on this is less is definitely more, but something for listeners to really think about is, lots of people come in with big groups or small groups. I think if you were to think of the perfect scenario, it's something that you actually touched a base on, is select one or two, very select few that really understands your true taste and style and understands who you are, so that if they are giving opinions, they're giving opinions about what they feel would suit you. A lot of people, and this is just a default, it's not their fault. Majority of people will give you opinions on what they think looks nice, what they like, on what things that they feel like they personally would wear. But at the end of the day, the person that's wearing the wedding dress and getting married is going to be the bride. And so, especially if brides are feeling like they don't truly know what they're looking for and feel like they may be easily swayed, I feel like it's best to possibly not bring as many guests, especially ones that might be opinionated. There are plenty opportunities to bring in your whole entourage. I understand that, this is an experience that people want to share with their families and their friends. There are plenty of opportunities. I feel like, especially if you're the type of person that gets overwhelmed, remember what I said. This is a movie production. You are the star of the show, and this is great practice for your wedding day, because you're going to be on stage. And, I think to do it in small bites is going to be a lot healthier for brides who are, gets a little bit overwhelmed by that many opinions. If you've got a really strong sense of who you are and you can make your own decisions and you know exactly what you're wanting, hey, I find that big cruise with that particular person doesn't even matter. They still have a great time. They know what they like. They still listen to other people's opinions as their opinions, not their own. And they can make those decisions themselves. And so it's really understanding who you are and assessing that before inviting any number of guests to your appointments.
That's a great advice. Are there any other tips that you would like to share with our viewers before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, a great tip actually I've been thinking about. I've got lots of friends now that are, anytime that they're shopping for wedding dresses, they'll come to our shop or ask about where they should go. I know majority of brides are going to, 2 to 3, maybe more bridal shops. My recommendation is really rank your appointments. And so think about your favorite stores and think about what it is that you like about each store, what has your like taste in fashion, and then choose the ones that you like best to go last. And so, because the first few appointments will be your appointments to really understand what you're looking for, what you're liking, and then you're typically by the second or third appointment, you really understand what you're like, and that appointment can go much further. And so remember that, I talked about how we go through the phase of understanding the bride's story. If a bride has already had experience in shopping for a wedding dress, then that story is easily extracted from our consultants because they now have a better grasp. So my tip would be save the best for last in terms of your bridal or your bridal shops that you are going to, and really think through what you're looking for.
All right, that's so great that you gave us such great tips. Before we leave, I know that you have an amazing free gift for our viewers. Would you want to tell us what that is, Jennifer?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like I gave some great tips today, but I did have a document with all the great tips that I have for brides that are just starting to shop for their wedding dress and how just to make the best experience that they can. And so it'll include some of the ones that we talked about today and a few more.
Okay, all right. I'm so happy to have you on here, Jennifer. Like, it's great chatting with you, and we'll definitely have that free gifts in the email along with it, so you can also have it. And we learned so much from you today, and it's so great to actually see you and hear from you today. Thank you for coming onto the show, making time for the show. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Bye.